I am Fred Hinton, motivation, encouragement. You know what I say. Scoot, 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 scoot. Scoot you on your way. Where a man places his time tells a lot about the man. Where you place your time is where you value. If you get sick, you can recover from that. If you lose money, you can recover from that. If you lose possessions, you can gain them again. But time, you can't get back. Once time is gone, time is gone. We all have a limited amount of time that we on this earth, so we have to enjoy it. When a person gives you his time and he what he's doing is he's giving you access to him. When a person commits a crime, they give him time. They say he's serving time because they understand that time is something you value. And if I can take time away from you, now I can take a possession from you. I read once that wealthy people buy time. And then people that work a job, they exchange their time for money. Yeah, I like that too. But let me tell you a story. It was a man by the name of David. David was brought up in a fairly good neighborhood, and he used to go to Mr. Johnson's house every day. Well, once, David got 16, 17, he stopped going to Mr. Johnson's house, and he moved away for college, and he ended up moving out of the state. Well, Mr. Johnson died, and his mom called him and said, David, Mr. Johnson died. David said, who is that? She said, the next door neighbor. He said, oh, I thought Mr. Johnson died years ago. She says, no. He said, I forgot all about the old man. He said, well, he never forgot about you, and I would like you to come for the funeral. He says, Mom, I'm busy. He says, I want you to come to the funeral. So he booked a flight, and he went to the funeral. And the next day, his mom and David went to Mr. Johnson's house, and they walked around, and the house looked the same way David remembered, like nothing moved. And on Mr. Johnson's desk was a gold box. And David says, well, where's Mr. Johnson's box? And his mom had no clue what he was talking about. He says, every day I used to come to Mr. Johnson's house. I say, Mr. Johnson, what is in this box? And Mr. Johnson would always say, my most important possession. But he would never let me look inside of the box. Well, Mr. Johnson died, and he never didn't think about it anymore. So David flew back home, and a week later, he got a note in his door that said he needed to go to the post office and pick something up. And he goes to the post office, and there's a box that was mailed to him and said, if I die, send this to David. And he opens the box, and it was the gold box of Mr. Johnson, and tears begin to come down his eyes, and he opens up the box, and inside of the box is a gold watch that said on the back of it, my most important possession, David. And what that's telling me was his time with David was most important to him. What is important to you? Your family, your time. You have to place time on things that means the most to you. Sometimes we spend so much time doing things that doesn't mean anything. When David opened that watch, he called his company and said, I won't be in for the next 3 days. I want to spend time with my family. You have to understand that time is something that you can't get back. Satan will utilize you and use your time to something that has no eternal gain. Make sure your relationship right is with Jesus Christ. Make sure that you're spending time with the people that matters the most, not with something that's going to not last. I am what I am by the grace of God. Spend your time in the right areas.